This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Alyssa, I kind of like some of that up tempo. It was kind of like, it wasn't really necessarily a no huddle, but it was kind of a hurry up, and that we implemented a little bit against Bama. And after those 5 3 and outs, it seemed like KJ kind of put the team on his shoulders, started making plays with his legs, started making plays with his arms. How do you see this offense moving forward? Do you think maybe they found something that they like going forward against Mississippi State?
You would hope so, because I think that's what KJ is comfortable doing, because it's what he's done the past couple of years when Kendall Briles was here. And I understand that Dan Enos isn't going to go up tempo. He's much more of a slower paced offense than that, but then you do go up tempo, and it just felt like KJ was comfortable with that kind of rhythm. And he is kind of a guy that, you just let him go. And it's almost like if you stop, look at the play, look back, stop, he almost like loses his momentum. And so if they can kind of keep that going, I think that could be beneficial for them these next 5 games for sure.
Can't get stuck in your ways on how you expect an offense to run. If you see something that's working, you got to go in that direction.
Adapt,
I mean,
right.
You really have to go in that direction here. So, I would, I'm always interested in what's happening at the start of the game, but I kind of hope that offensively they come out the way they did in the second half. And like Chuck said in the first segment, Alyssa, and I think he's right about this, in order to generate tempo offensively, you've got to have positive yardage on first down. Now, that's one aspect they've had trouble with, so that might be, one reason why tempo's been a little tough to establish if you've been thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you put yourself behind the sticks, Sam talked about it too, that it limits what you're calling in your playbook, and you're just trying to, you've now got just a 1 down less to try to get 10 yards. So I'm hoping that they've kind of found something that works for them. And so that way they can utilize what they have offensively and some of those tools that they have offensively. And I was just really good. It was really good to see them play and finish the way they did against Alabama as we move forward, because I think even though they didn't win, one thing DJ and I were talking about in our pregame show was if we just see a glimpse of fight and a glimpse of improvement. No, you're not going to beat Alabama per se, but it just sends a message to the rest of the season that these guys haven't checked out yet.
I also need, and I do not expect to see blowouts for the remainder of the season. And really, you haven't seen any yet. Even the A&M game, which is probably the only game you walked away from and thought, yeah, they just kind of got whipped in that game. That was still a 12-point ball game. I think you're going to see close games. So, you wonder, so what makes the difference between a loss to LSU by 3 points and potentially a win over Florida or Mississippi State or Auburn or Missouri by 3 points? Because so many of the games that they've played in the last more than calendar year now, and man, it's got to be close to 50%, if not more, of the games that Coach Pittman has been here at Arkansas as the head coach, it's been decided by a score or less. Got to find a way to win those games because they're going the other direction these days.
I heard that stat. Tom Luganbill was on the SEC Network last week, and I was watching it as I was getting ready for the game on Saturday. And he had said that Sam Pittman has been in 19, and now make it 20 games that were one-possession games, and he's won 5 of them. And I just think that kind of says, what is it going to take to get over that hump? And I asked Coach that after the game of, what's it going to take? And, I know that that's a hard question to answer, but at some point you've just got to realize that you just need something to go your way one more time to get over that hump and win these ball games that you could have won and you lost by 7 points or less. So they just have to, I think consistency is the big thing. That's something that both of the guys we talked to after the game talked about, was just staying consistent, staying focused. The offense played really well against LSU, but then in the second half, it was the defense that gave up a score every single time LSU had the ball. And so there was an inconsistency there. If they can just stay and play a full 60 minutes. I think that might be your difference. But again, that's such a hard question to answer because I don't think that there is a tangible answer to it except for go out, execute, and have things go your way once or twice.
Alyssa, I do got to ask you about your Florida State Seminoles. They are hosting the Duke Blue Devils. Does Duke have a chance now? Now Duke lost their quarterback. Is that right? So how are you feeling going into this game?
Yeah, I feel good. But how funny is it that we're saying, well, we're about to see what this team is made of as they get ready to play Duke. Didn't think I'd ever say that sentence when I'm talking about a football game.
You've said that in February before, but not just not in October.
It's not in October, exactly. So, I think that this team is playing really well. I was reading up. I know that Jordan Travis had a little bit of a hand injury against Syracuse, but Mike Norvell positive about him coming back, saying Johnny Wilson is pretty good. So I think, again, if Florida State can stay consistent, just play their game. Again, Riley Leonard is not playing, so that's a bonus for FSU. And, I'm just kind of living in the moment with them, trying not to get too high or too low. Kind of like my Dolphins. I'm just living in the moment.
Yeah,
you got the best receiver on the planet right now in Tyreek Hill. I mean, just get him the ball and get out of the way.
You might even have the MVP in the league right now with Tua.
Man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch, and I enjoy it. And, they got Jalen Waddle and Rashad Mostert and your guy, Matt. I hate to see Devin Achane go out. He was doing so well. Yeah. But hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. And they're saying Jalen Ramsey might make a comeback sooner than they thought, so that would be cool too.
He'll be back. Alyssa, I want to get your thoughts on this Penn State-Ohio State matchup. I think last week with Washington beating Oregon, they're probably in the top 4 right now. You think clearly if Penn State, Ohio State, the winner, they kind of control their own destiny, the winner of this game this Saturday?
I think they definitely have the opportunity to. It's really tough to count out Michigan in the way that Michigan is playing. But I like Penn State. I think that Ohio State has some weaknesses. And I always think that that's the case. Like Ohio State has a way that you can exploit what they do. They just always find ways to win. It's almost the opposite of what Arkansas is doing right now. Ohio State's just always found ways to win. But I really like James Franklin as a head coach. And for Penn State to get that win over Ohio State would really set them up as another undefeated to take seriously. And then you look ahead to the Michigan matchup and just, what kind of falls there in the Big Ten. But it'll be an exciting game. I mean, I was glued to the TV for that Washington-Oregon game. I don't know if you guys know this, but Saul's cousins went to UW. My sister and my brother-in-law got their masters at UW. They still live in Seattle. So we were pulling for the Huskies on Saturday for sure.
You're amazing, Alyssa. I mean, you got connections at all 4 corners of the country practically. I mean, we talk about the Dodgers in Los Angeles, the Dolphins in Miami. I mean, you go as far as we're going up the East Coast to Richmond, and then there's Seattle. I mean, why don't you have anybody in Maine?
It's too cold. It's too cold up there. Past Maryland, I don't have any connection.
Hey, help me out with something, and we'll close on this. It's like Monty Python said, too. Now for something completely different. We were getting in earlier about in sports and in sports radio, if they're not making fun of you, if they're not giving you a hard time, then they just don't think about you very much. They don't like you, or you just, don't make an impact on them. It's like you want to be made fun of in sports. Is TV the same thing? Because TV's a whole different animal, a much different animal.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys have so much more freedom with the length of your shows and whatnot to have some fun and talk about opinions more than we do. I think, obviously if we're talking about you, you're doing something, either really right or really wrong. I remember with Saul and his radio days, it was like they wanted the team, it was much better to talk about a team that was doing really, really well or really, really bad. If they were kind of in the middle, there wasn't much to talk about. Colors, weren't as upset, but you could get really polarizing sides of like pluses and minuses if they're doing really good or they're playing really bad. So we don't have the time to get into the weeds like that, maybe in our 30-minute show, but I think it's a little different. We're just trying to give you 3 minutes of, hey, here's what's going on. This is what's being said. Thanks and good night.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.